5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tarot! Okay, that was my lame introduction to a hashtag by Kelly Bear called 54321 Tarot, in which she has created these categories that we can discuss and share, going from 5 items on a list down to 1 item on the list. So I like to do that for you right now. So the first item is just to pick 5 decks, and you can have any reason you want for showing off these decks. This was an easy one for me because some time ago I would put a little note on my phone: in case of fire, grab these 5 decks. I have maybe just under 50 decks to choose from, and these were the 5 that I decided I really wanted to save in case of emergency. And I knew that part of the category for falling in this on this list would be, they're going to be indie decks or out of print decks or hard to get decks, because those would be the ones that you wouldn't be able to replace too readily. But having said that, yes, none of these are available on Amazon, but at the same time, I believe I got most of them off of eBay at a fairly decent rate, certainly under $100 per deck. So here we go. I didn't really plan it this way when I picked the 5, but it turns out that of the 5 decks, 2 are Thoth-based, which is the system I'm very much studying right now. 2 are RWS, which is the system I started with and most people use. And 1 is a Tarot de Marseille, which I also have studied. And so I feel like I'm pretty well set up. If there's a fire, I have all 3 main systems, and who knows, I may go back to RWS or TDM or switch it up at any time in the future. So this list of decks will allow that to be a possibility. So the first one I'm going to show you is kind of crosses categories in a way. It's the most accessible, and yes, you can get a Thoth on Amazon, but you won't get the one with the 3 Magus cards. So that's why this deck is special to me. Also, it's the Goldilocks deck. It's the one that's not too large and the one that's not too small. It's the middle one with my favorite purple color as the box. So beyond all of that, and I'll just quickly show you, these are the 2 extra Magus cards, both lovely. Don't see why they were rejected by Crowley when Lady Frida Harris painted them, but that's for them to know. But beyond just getting 2 Magus cards, that's not really enough for me, because I don't stack the deck. I don't read with 3 possibilities of a Magus card coming up. I just use them to bookend the deck in the box, and that's about it for the extra Magus cards. But the reason why this particular deck is one that I would have to save is I like saturated color in decks. I really love color. I once was an art director at a colorization company, which is, we colorized black and white films and TV shows. So I got to pick all the colors of all the costumes and all the sets, and it was a lot of fun, and I just enjoy color. So although I love black and white films and I have no problem with them, it was just a fun job. So having said all that, the Thoth deck generally, it was watercolors to begin with. So they're not strong colors when you look at them. And what I like about this particular version of the deck, and there are multiple versions of this, get the one I would suggest with the Fortune card and the Sun card on the back, because that might mean that you've got this kind of saturation in your deck. So I don't know if you can tell on the screen, And I don't have the other decks right here to compare it to, but look at the saturation. Look at the light that just comes out of the dark in that card. And this strength and or lust card is just so vibrant. You feel the energy. And, you know, Lady Frieda Harris meant for you to feel the energy, to feel that you're seeing movement in the cards. And, I mean, these cards are just incredibly vibrant so that they will, you know, stimulate. Look at the whites of that water against the red. So they will stimulate your reading. And of course she used the appropriate color scales of the Golden Dawn. I mean, look at these pinks and greens and the various violets and pinks in this dark card. And she's almost three-dimensional. And that's what I love about this particular version of this particular deck. So, I mean, honestly, if there was only one deck I could save in a fire, this would absolutely be the deck I would be saving. So that's number one. And let's get the Thoths out of the way. Number two, I've already done an entire video on this deck, and it's the Rosetta Tarot. This is probably the rarest deck that I own and would cost the most to replace. There's only so many cards. You can see right there, so many of this version available. And again, the vibrancy of the cards is just astounding. Plus, M.M. Moline put her own spin on some of these pips. The actual keywords from the Thoth are done in hieroglyphics. So if you don't like looking at keywords, well, if you can't read hieroglyphics, you'll just do fine. Really, really beautiful, beautiful imagery. And she does give you the alphabet if you are interested. And you can put your own name here in hieroglyphics if you like. So I won't go through this deck any more than that because I've done an entire video on it, I believe. Yeah, so very, very, when they say irreplaceable, I feel this is one that is very close to irreplaceable. Gorgeous box with a lovely silk blue ribbon attached to the box. And yeah, so those are my Thoth decks. Now, RWS, I have to say, I have a really soft spot for the Morgan Greer Tarot and the original version. I don't like the super glossy version that's available now. I don't like the cardstock, and they've even thinned the cards a bit, so you're even losing a little bit of information. These cards are a little thicker and a little bigger, and it's got a lift-off box, not the top box, and so this is a deck with no borders, which is enjoyable. The cards are so up close that you can't miss any of the imagery. Again, you're seeing vibrant color, which I love. And it's just the basic RWS, but given more of a pop. And of course, we've got more 70s. Isn't she gorgeous? There's that purple catching my eye again. There are 70s, you know, orangey, rusty brown colors throughout. Just a really beautiful job. And I use this deck at least once a week, even with my Thoth studies. I don't ever quite set this one aside. There's a certain spread that I use this deck for. It's probably my favorite card in this deck. So if you like a 70s vibe and if you like vintage, and these come up quite often on eBay, again, for about $80 or so. So love that deck. Here is an example of the only Marseille that I've chosen. I got this off Make Playing Cards, so it's, you know, very available. And this is just a regular tuck box that you just buy. You can choose which box you want. I like the window and I like that you can see one of the cards through it, and you can change that card, so you end up having, a different front of your deck or your card box, like if it was sitting on the shelf and you had like a different card in there up front. But beyond all that, I absolutely love this artwork, and I believe, so it's Marseille, so the pips are pips, but look at these beautiful ripe berries. This would be the Three of Pentacles. So there's always a little something there for you to go on. That's the back of the card. But I mean, oh my God, the images are so great. I don't know what you would call this particular art style. Is it cubism? Is it, I'm not sure what you would call it. But there's our Fool, Queen of Swords. The cards really interact with each other well. Look at this caramel color, just beautiful. And when you do see figures like this one, they are going in a certain direction, so you can read like this guy is headed for love, because he's going in that direction. The horse is going in that direction. Because I do like reading directionality here and there. But honestly, this, along with the Thoth, to me, is like, look at that hermit in the dark, with that light. This to me is like an art museum in a box. Every single card is absolutely stunning. I don't love the cardstock. It's make playing cards cardstock. It's kind of slippery, and some of the paint starts to sort of chip away after a while, which I don't enjoy. I like everything to be absolutely pristine and perfect, and I'm not even a Virgo. So there's that deck, and the last one, which is just kind of a fun deck, and I guess it appeals to my watery Cancer nature, is the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. And I will just skip over any of the controversy that started with this deck. I just love the deck for itself. It has a great little clamshell box. Clamshell, water, makes sense. And the cards are got this beautiful antique gold. I don't really usually like bright gold on the edges, but this antique gold is just lovely. The cardstock, there's the backs. The cardstock is so smooth and rich and wonderful. And yeah, the imagery is, simple. It's not, this would not be an art museum in a box, as I have mentioned. Oops, is that upside down? Yes, it was. I'm sorry about that. Didn't quite look right. Yeah, there you go. There's your Nine of Cups. And what's interesting, though, about what the art style is that she just introduces the titling and into the card. So it's not just on the bottom, and it's different in every card. So it just gives you that really nice homemade feel about the deck. Really, the feel of the deck is beyond. It's so, so great. And there's a bit of, even with this sort of simplistic kind of art style and the mermaid imagery, and yeah, there aren't mermaids in every single card, or they're not the absolute focus of every single card. Like here we have a dreamy Page of Cups. Gorgeous Two of Pentacles. One of my favorite Fool cards. I think I did pick it as my favorite in a video long ago. She's actually jumping through the zero of the card and laughing on her way down. So beyond all that, there's a kind of a queer energy to some of these court cards. It's got like a Rocky Horror Picture Show, cabaret musical kind of vibe on some of these people. So it's not just one sort of thing, and really I haven't used this in quite a while, and just looking at all of the cards again, I'm really loving the deck again. Fantastic Queen of Pentacles there. Look at that hair. Mermaids have the best hair, as we all know. Another great card, this King of Wands. So there is kind of an energy in the card. There's a mood. I guess I wouldn't call it energy. The Thoth has energy that just pops out. This is more a mood, a dreamy mood. Look at this, our Knight of Cups riding a seahorse. I mean, come on. Adorable. So those are the 5 decks. I didn't mean to stay on that for so long, but I just got caught up because they are favorites. So now we move on to the next bit on the list, the number 4, and it is to describe 4 books that you would maybe recommend. Yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. So, of course, I did a recent video on my favorite books on the Thoth Tarot, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this one, but of course this had to make the list. I've got about 16 to 18 books on Thoth, and this one, for my money, is the one I would take to the desert island. It doesn't give you everything, but it does give you a page where the symbols are described, and also a page that really breaks things down in a very, very convenient way. So what does this card mean in general? What is it for a profession or work? What is it for your consciousness, your partnership? What does this card encourage? What does it warn against? What if it was your card for the day? And if it's a trump, what if it was your card for the year? And the other thing which is really nice is the part that stumps some people, tarot readers that aren't astrologers like me. There's the Venus and Scorpio on, let's say, this card, the 7 of Cups. And this is one of the few books that just sort of gives you a really quick Venus. Well, what would that mean, Venus in Scorpio? How does that inform the card? And so they say it's the depths, that's Scorpio, of desire, Venus, pleasure that leads to dependence, again, Scorpio. So just a really succinct, pithy little summation of why that decan is ruling or connected to that particular card. Okay, so that's enough about that. So in terms of complexity, two of the books, are more complex, deal with more complex issues, and 2 of them are more just straightforward reading, more towards RWS, but can be used for other decks as well. This is a fantastic crossover book if you want to know about those decans. I talked about the 7 of Cups, and Venus and Scorpio is the decan for that. So in this 36 Secrets book, let me see if I can find, she only is talking about the pip cards, or the cards that have a decan and an astrological assignment. So here would be the 7 of Cups, the one that I just showed you. And the reason why this is such a great crossover book is because the decans, Venus and Scorpio, are right on the Thoth cards to be seen and puzzled over. But she uses the RWS deck and imagery to get those decans across to people that are more familiar with RWS. Because don't forget, RWS and Thoth are both based on the same Golden Dawn decan system. So if you want to get into the Thoth and you want an easy way in, go through the RWS imagery if that's what you're more familiar with. So the whole idea is, like, every card in the Golden Dawn has been assigned a planet or a sign or an element. So if you are looking at the 7 of Cups, and as we say, it's Venus in Scorpio, you take the 7 of Cups and you put on either side of it the card that's ruled by Venus, and you can see it right there on the shield. and the Scorpio card, which is death. And you try to see how these two majors inform this minor. It's a fantastic exercise that we should all be doing for ourselves, but thankfully she has written a chapter or a write-up for each of these decans and what that could mean for the card. So thank you, Susan, or T. Susan Chang, because I think that is a deck that just stands alone. A book that just stands alone out there. I can't think of another one that's written as well off the top of my head. So now let's get into some more modern, fun, punchy writings on the tarot. And you've probably seen this one. It's been around for quite a few years now. And it just, I feel, brings new energy and new life to tarot meanings in general. So it is a just card meaning book. It doesn't really go much beyond that. But it's nice because not everything has a image with it. And those that do aren't typically connected to a specific deck that existed when the book was written. I think they might have made a deck out of these images since then. So you don't get stuck on your Thoth image or on your RWS image. I mean, you notice that the Bible, Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom, is not in my book list. And that's because it is so stuck on the RWS. The writing, as great as the writing is, and as fantastic as the book was in its time, if you're not reading with that deck, you're going to have to cross out a lot of what you're reading in the book. But a book like this just goes for the general energy of the card as we know it. And she has these wonderful little titles. So the Six of Wands is when they go low, we go high. I think one of my favorite ones, I was born under the Four of Pentacles, decan, and where is that? Now here we are, 2, 3, 4, and she says, "You're being a bit of a brat." That's her title for the Four of Cups. So I'm practicing being grateful every minute, every day. But anyway, her titles make me laugh. Her write-ups are very modern and easy to connect to. And I love that she has written up the court cards as a family. So you get mother, father, daughter, and son. So when you have that, you can use it for RWS, or you can use it, probably fits Thoth a little better, but you can use it for Thoth or whatever system you're using. You're not stuck into it's a page. And so she has wonderful titles about members of the family. Like the Daughter of Cups or the Page of Cups is the Space Cadet. So if nothing else, you'll get a good laugh out of the book, but her insights are good as well, and it's certainly worth a read. And that's another reason why I picked these books in particular, as these are books that I would actually reread, and there's not a lot of tarot books that I do a lot of rereading on or of. I always want to read the next book. And also I rarely refer to a tarot book. I mean, I'm at a point now that I can read the cards and I'm not looking things up. But sometimes I just think, well, what's something that wouldn't occur to me but may occur to somebody else? And if nobody else is sitting there with me, I will grab, if I'm reading Thoth, this, and I'll get that little bit of extra insight that I didn't have just going with my own thoughts and feelings. So the last book, I think, needs a lot more publicity and a lot more love, and a lot more people should be reading this book. I've been a fan of James Radcliffe books, and you don't hear much about his books. They're not talked about much. This is my favorite of his. He even created a deck at once. This is my unicorn deck. One day I'll get my hands on it. And he based it on famous masterpiece paintings. But the reason I love this deck is, yes, it is the soul's journey, and it very much is a spiritual look at the cards, but also very useful. And I just am blown away. I need to reread this book. Again, this one literally has no illustrations, so you can use whatever deck you want. And because he's connecting to more of a psychological, spiritual side of the card, that works well. So for instance, the Five of Cups, he doesn't just, you're mourning somebody or you've lost somebody, that kind of usual stuff. No, he writes a whole paragraph on what is it to experience grief. He, under that same card, then says, how do you release grief? And then a whole paragraph on that. How to heal and move on. Leaving the pity party. Saying goodbye. It's really, really great. And throughout, he also quotes famous philosophers and writers to get the ideas across. And you Sagittarians love an affirmation or a quote, in case there's any Sagittarians out there. So for instance, the Six of Cups, he quotes the 14th Dalai Lama: the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. And that kind of stuff is fabulous tidbits, is all through the book. So those are my 4 books. Now that I've said all that, I'm really happy with my choices. So let's go on to number 3 on the list. And number 3 on the list is, so this is your 3 spreads. Again, you can have any reason for choosing these spreads, but I have to say these are the ones that I use the most and get the most out of, which is why I use them the most. So the spread that I sort of made up, although I did find, I think, maybe some version of it in The Untold Tarot, a Caitlin Matthews book on the Tarot de Marseille. I can't remember the actual source, but I tweaked it, and now it is what it is. I use this is my daily spread thing, and you just pick 3 cards, no positions, and I like that so that you're not trying to get a positive card in a challenging position and trying to work that out and have your brain scramble. It's no positions, and it's just the cards talking to each other, creating a story. Maybe you use elemental dignities amongst the cards. Fire doesn't like water, and that then weakens the middle card. I also like 3 cards because you do get a focus card. That's the center one. And then to form a cross, so you got 3 cards like that, and then I put a card down here and a card up there, so then you have a cross. And the one below is just my challenge for the day. Maybe it's an obstacle. It may be just the thing that has to get done, the task ahead. And then the card I put on top is some advice, some help to sort of make that task, to be able to complete that task or get through that obstacle, that type of thing. And then I'll take a quick look at the bottom of the deck card to see if it informs any of that. So that is my basically spread I use every single day. It's a great spread for general use because you can take the obstacle and advice cards out and replace them with do, don't do, or this is me, this is the other person I'm reading on, that type of thing. So you can make other sort of complementary opposite positions. And again, I like the no positions, but I also like a bit of focusing in on specific positions just to sort of, get things a little more succinct. So I don't have a name for that spread, so it's just my 3-card spread. The other one that I find is probably the most mind-blowing, accurate, impressive when you read for other people's spread is what I call the Crowley spread. I also have a video on here called my favorite spread, the Magic spread, Magic with a CK at the end. And then I renamed it the Crowley spread because I really did find it in a book on Thoth, and it was the spread that Crowley used himself. And I don't want to spend time going through the whole spread. It's complicated. It's not for people who are just starting with tarot. And it's the counting system of the Golden Dawn is involved. There's 5 cards altogether. And you look at cards and you know, if you've got a knight, then it counts as 4, and you have to count 4 cards to get your next card. And I won't go into the whole system, but it is in that video, and you can check it out there. And I just love the spread. I mean, it's never not given me a mind-blowing reading for myself or for others. And then the third spread that I recommend is actually I found in this book. And he later went on to write an entire book using just the spread and the readings that came from that. And, you know, so basically using the actual cards and actual questions and actual tarot moments to describe how this spread works. And it's called The Next Step. So it's also in sort of a cross formation without a center card. There's only 4 cards. This is such an original spread, and I think a really good way to approach a reading because, you know, we always have, or generally have, sort of an outcome card, which to me is really too much of a period. The only stability in life is change, and that is a Crowley expression, and that is so true. And so there's too much of a final point on an outcome card because then you just feel you're stuck with that, and that's where you're headed, and there's no wiggle room at all. So the great thing about this spread is you pick 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And so the first card that you pick in this spread is, I'll just leave that for a second so you can read it, is where you are now. So you pick a card and it's like, where you are now, what's the situation now, what is this question you're asking about? And it's just descriptive. Then the second card, which is very interesting as a position, is it's the this doesn't matter thing. So you may have been wondering about this or thinking that you had to get this done or this is in your way. But actually, right now, whatever this card is saying, it doesn't matter. Put it out of your head. Then you pick a card, the one near the top, and that is, this does matter. This is what you should be focusing on. You know, pay attention to this. And then the fourth card, which is not, again, an outcome card, it's the next step. So you should be doing this. You know, this is one way to put your next step forward. And even if the question is something where you're not able to take action yourself, you're waiting for something else to happen or someone else to make a decision, when the circumstances of whatever that card is saying shows up, it tells you, okay, we've completed this part. Now, what will be the next step after this? So then you throw the 4 cards down again, and the process begins again, and it just moves you along. You can ask the same question, you reach the next step, now go forward. And it just occurred to me, maybe if you're asking the same question again, and the next step has shown up in that card form, you could maybe make that next step card from the former reading your situation now card, and then go from there. So then you're only picking 3 new cards. Anyway, I love the spread. Give it a try. It's very original, and it's kind of interesting because you're just sort of waiting to see this thing show up. And again, I would encourage engaging in the action and making it happen in order to get things going. Okay, number 2 is just some tarot habits. So we're almost at the end now. That you might want to share. And so one of the tarot habits that I have is when I do that daily card draw, the one I showed you with the 5 cards, I do a little invocation. Now, I don't do this when I read for people. I'm not sure why, but I do a little invocation before I just start the day, and I'm going to read the cards. And it also kind of helps me to know when to maybe stop shuffling if that's something that's an issue with you. You've finished the invocation, so now you're ready to start picking cards. So I will share that. I don't think I've ever shared this before. I think I got it from a book on the Tarot of the Old Path deck, which is a deck I like a lot. So it goes like this. So that is a very pagan-based deck, so there's a pagan quality to the invocation. I don't know if I would say I was a pagan, but I like everything they like, so maybe I am. But it goes like this. O goddess within, O God within, O goddess of the moon, water, and earth, O God of the sun, forests, and mountains. Oh God, now I've forgotten it. You know what? I forgot it because I do it in that instant when I'm reading, and I never do it any other time. So I'm going to give it one more try. If I can't get it, if it won't come to me, I will just write it in the notes. O goddess within, O God within, O goddess of the moon, waters, and earth, O God of the sun, mountains, and forests. Thank you for this message from the tarot to me. Blessed be. There you go. I got it. Okay. And then the other tarot habit that I have is the way I choose the cards. So I would do that invocation, let's say. I do not like, and I do cut the cards 3 times once I'm finished shuffling and put them back together again. That's part of how I pick my cards. I don't like then picking the top card and then the card after that and the card after that. It's how I learned. And I think that's how most people do it. I think you'd have to shuffle a lot longer to get the cards mixed up enough to do a reading after a reading after a reading where the cards are separating and moving around. And ain't nobody got time for that, and I certainly don't. So what I do, and I think I saw Nicholas Ashbaugh, very popular YouTube tarot reader, I saw him do this, and I think I've done it that way ever since. Once everything is shuffled and cut and placed, I just close my eyes and run my fingers like this, and then I stop when I feel that that's the card I want to pick, and then I just pull the card out. Interesting, that was just on the top, and I just picked the same card out. Anyway, and then I just keep picking that way until I've got all the cards that are necessary in the spread. I find it works great and saves time and shuffling. Okay, so number 1 is just a tarot tip that I might want to share, and for me, I just would really encourage people, especially new people starting out. I would never ask anyone to change their ingrained tarot habits. But if you are starting out, ditch reversals. Just forget them. Don't even bother. It's just going to overcomplicate things. You've got 78 cards to deal with. You have to now deal with 78 cards and all their possible combinations next to each other and all their possible combinations in particular positions. And if you do read elemental dignities where certain cards cancel each other out because the elements aren't friendly, you got enough to work with. And I understand that reversals could add a nice complexity to a reading and enhance a reading in some ways and give further insights, but they're not for me. They're certainly not for me right now, and I'm not sure they ever will be. So I will just leave you with that. I don't know how long that was, but it certainly went longer than I expected. So I'll say bye for now. Hope you got something out of that, and try the hashtag 54321tarot for yourself and let me know what you think. Bye.